Welcome to episode 91 of the Talking Friars podcast. Your host, Ben Fadden, here today with a special guest, former Padre Tyson Ross. Tyson, thanks for hopping on.
Hey, Ben, I'm excited to be here. Thanks for having me.
Yeah, so first question, let's just kind of update everyone on where you are at with your career. Are you still, just staying in shape, keeping the arm ready, and have teams been in contact with you at all?
Yeah, I'm hoping to pitch in 2022. The last two seasons I went to spring training. In 2020, I opted out with COVID and everything happening. And then last spring, I was with the Rangers, didn't make the team, and ended up being at home all year. So I'm looking forward to getting an opportunity to pitch somewhere in 2022. I'll do whatever role comes my way, and I'd love to get back on the mound.
Yeah, perfect. Yeah, I definitely love to see you. So next question here. Everyone kind of dreams of, one day pitching in the big leagues or playing in the big leagues, whatever position they are. And when you finally got to do that, can you kind of explain how what you were kind of feeling, in those moments, unless if you remember it?
Yeah, definitely. I mean, ever since I can remember, I was playing the game of baseball, and I always wanted to be a big league player. And I grew up in Oakland, California, and actually debuted for the Oakland A's when I was about 22 years old. So, growing up, I wanted to be a shortstop like every kid, and I loved hitting, and I found out how hard it is to actually hit really good pitching. So, luckily, I was able to develop as a college player and became a pretty good pitcher, and got an opportunity to go pro for my hometown team. And yeah, I mean, I think the situation of making my debut at home in the Oakland Coliseum was pretty special, and the moment didn't really hit me until I heard Ray King, that famous announcer, saying now making his major league debut, Tyson Ross, and then I got goosebumps and got nerves all at once, and I had to kind of shake it off real quick because I had a couple big leaguers up there at the plate trying to hit a homer off me. So yeah, I mean, there's a lot of nerves that happened in the moment, and it's pretty special to be able to debut at home in a stadium that I'd seen countless games at as a kid.
Hmm. Now, obviously, like you mentioned, you started with Oakland, but then you were traded to the Padres in 2012. What kind of were your feelings when that happened? That the team that you debuted with. I know that some players probably hope that they were with one team their whole career, but obviously, it's a business and all that. What were your feelings like? Were you excited to come to the Padres, or because I had Clayton Richard on, I think last month, and he was kind of like that. He was actually surprised by his trade to the Padres from Chicago. So, kind of what were your feelings?
Yeah, when I was traded to the Padres after that 2012 season, I was super happy. My brother had been a first round pick by the Pods out of high school in 2011, so he was already in the organization. Despite pitching at home for the hometown team, my career didn't get off to the greatest start, and I kind of was looking for a fresh start somewhere else. With a team that really believed in me, and that trade for the Padres happened at the exact perfect time for me. And getting down there in 2013 and pitching for Bud Black and having Darren Balsley is my pitching coach, that was the difference in my career. And I was really fortunate for that to happen when it did.
Hmm. Now, you mentioned Balsley. I've met him, I think, once. What did he kind of teach you? What kind of was it? Certain pitches or just your windup? What were things that he helped you with that you thought really helped develop you?
Balsley's just the best pitching coach I've ever had, hands down. He's a great communicator. He has a really good visual eye for things. And then when he talks to you as a pitcher, he gives you one little simple cue, whether it's, hey, lift your leg athletically or something that syncs a lot of things up, and a lot of good things happen from a really simple cue that, from the outside looking in, you'd be like, that sounds dumb. That wouldn't really make a big difference. But he can see something, know what needs to change, and then make it really simple for the pitcher to execute on that next pitch and feel good about it. So, I was fortunate to have Balsley for those years. We're still close. I talk to him all the time, and he's just a special person in the game of baseball.
What is if you're comfortable sharing, what is Darren kind of up to now? I know that because it just wasn't totally clear when he left as pitching coach, and I think he stayed in the organization for 1 year. What is he up to now?
He's back home in Tennessee. I think he's still looking to, be a pitching coach somewhere. And I know, any team that hires him will be lucky to have him.
Yeah.
He's got a proven track record of working with a lot of guys, having a lot of great pitchers. I mean, when you have Greg Maddux give you a shout out in his Hall of Fame speech, that doesn't happen for no reason.
Yeah,
So
exactly.
I mean, he's got Hall of Famers. He's got guys like me or Brad Hand or Kirby Yates, who, we were on a second or third team, and he gave us a shot and kind of unlocked something in us and turned us into all-stars. So, he can work with all kinds of pitchers, and hopefully he gets a chance to get out there and help some more guys like me along the way.
Right. In 2014, you made the All-Star game, at Target Field. What was that experience like? I know it was Jeter's last All-Star game. What kind of were those? I'll say this, what was the best moment of that whole experience?
Yeah, that 2014 All-Star game was really cool. I think the coolest moment of that was, being on the line as they were announcing the rosters and just hearing all the names called and all the guys I've watched play my whole life or played against and competed against at the highest level. And, knowing that I had earned that right to be, amongst them as an all-star that season. And then, just watching the game, from the dugout. I actually pitched that Sunday before against the Dodgers, so I wasn't eligible to pitch, but that was the highest caliber baseball game I've ever seen. I think Mike Trout might have led off with a home run or something crazy. And, it was just a clean, crisp game from the first pitch to the last out. And, when you're a player in the big leagues, you know what good baseball looks like. And that was extremely, extremely good baseball.
Yeah, I think Trout tripled, I think, off Wainwright, if I remember correctly, to start that. But
Okay. Yeah. Just an
yeah,
extra base hit
yeah,
somehow.
yeah, yeah, yeah. You were on that 2015 team, with the whole Rockstar GM and AJ and all the additions. And then, but obviously the season didn't end up the way that, fans wanted it to, you guys wanted it to. Can you pinpoint one reason why that didn't happen? Or was it maybe some clubhouse chemistry, or just things just didn't fall the way things were planned?
Yeah, I mean, sometimes those are just the breaks. I can think back to, we had a series against the Dodgers in April, and I think maybe Justin Upton hit a ball to dead center that looked like it was going to be a walk-off home run, and I forget who was playing center at the time, but they jumped up and robbed it at the wall. And just kind of those little, baseball is a game of inches sometimes, and a couple inches more, maybe we take a series from the Dodgers or in early April or May there with a walk-off homer and get hot and roll from there. But it was cool to see AJ come in, invest in the team, bring in names like Upton, Kemp, Kimbrel, all these guys, and really bring a lot of excitement to San Diego. When I first got there, my first couple of years, we were kind of always the underdogs, fighting to be scrappy, and a lot of no-name players fighting against the Dodgers and Giants with the big name guys. So, it's cool to see, looking at what the Padres have done recently, to know that all kind of started back in 2015 when AJ came in, took the reins, and started going after some guys and trying to change, the image of the Padres.
hmm Now, in 2016, that next year, you were named the opening day starter. That was the first game that my family had season tickets, and so we were totally excited and jacked up for that game to see you pitch. But then obviously got hurt, and that ended up being, I believe, right, your only game of the year. Um, how how disappointing was that? But were you at least able to enjoy the kind of lead up to that opening day start?
Yeah, I mean, that game had a lot of emotions for me. I kind of knew my shoulder was banged up for a while, and I was pitching through it, hoping, sometimes just a little bit of adrenaline and things, once you get up to game speed, feel better. But yeah, I mean, I was nervous coming into that game because I knew my shoulder wasn't feeling right, and unfortunately, things went sideways real quick, and it ended up being my last start, for the Padres that year, and it was just tough. I mean, I'd worked really hard over the previous, 3, 4 seasons with the Padres to be able to put myself in a position to be named opening day starter. And, I had a big role for that team for that upcoming year. And unfortunately I was hurt and I knew I couldn't do anything about it. And, it sucks looking back on it. I was really happy that, even though I lost that year in 16, had to have surgery, I was able to come back in 2018 and pitch, a bunch of games for the Padres back at Petco, because I love playing for the Padres. I love that stadium. I love those fans. And, I was really disappointed in myself and just kind of what had happened with the injury. And I didn't want to go out on that sour note because, being a Padre really meant a lot to me.
Mhm. Now I kind of wanted to get one of your teammates in here, Matt Kemp. He had a reputation. I don't know reputation, but there have been, reports about him not being the best teammate or whatnot. but I wanted to get your point of view of the kind of person he is, and if he was able to help, younger hitters with his time in San Diego, and kind of the impact that you saw that a lot of fans didn't see that Matt Kemp had.
Yeah, I was thrilled when we brought Kemp in. Reports in the media, all that stuff. That's an exterior view on things, but I got to see the way that he works day in and day out. And when you have a superstar like that come to your team, it makes everyone else better. So I know when he was hitting in the cage, when he was taking BP before the game, he was making guys better by putting in the work he does and talking, hitting with people. So the Matt Kemp you don't get to see is he's a family man. His mom's at almost every single game, and I got a lot of respect for him as a player and as a person.
Mm. Now, moving on more to the current game, you kind of mentioned, Darren Balsley and the help that he had with you. What are your thoughts kind of on the current pitching coach and the evolution of pitching, all the analytics, and at spring training and in bullpens, you see, the TrackMan and all of the technology. How have you utilized that? And do you view that as a benefit, or do you think that maybe the technology is, went into the game too much, if that makes sense?
Yeah, I mean, it's just the evolution of things, right? It's the baseball teams now, all the clubs and organizations, what they're trying to do is they're trying to evaluate talent. And back in the day, it used to just be the eyeball test, and then you had to watch guys play. You had to listen to how hitters talked about how hard it was for them to see the pitch coming in or get a hit or whatever it may be. But now they have the technology available to them to kind of look at the metrics of what makes Craig Kimbrell hard to hit. Why is his fastball blowing by guys at 97 when other guys get hit? And they can look at the different metrics, whether it's vertical rise on a fastball, horizontal movement, things like that, spin rate. And they basically have a map now of what pitches are really hard to hit, and they can just kind of evaluate every bullpen. Where in the past it used to be, yeah, he looks good in the bullpen, he's got control of his body, he's throwing strikes, Springer ball looks good. Let's see how it plays in the game. Now every bullpen, they have the ability to measure those metrics and say, okay, this guy, these three guys are in this group. They have the A+ stuff that'll play at the big league level. These guys need to work on it. And I think it just kind of helps them evaluate talent. As a player, especially an older player now, I'm 34 years old, and in a bullpen, I'm not ripping on fastballs. I'm trying to get a feel for things. And so, it kind of makes you have to up that competitive edge in the bullpen, because what they're trying to evaluate is different than what it used to be in the past.
Right. Moving kind of to the current CBA negotiations between the players and the league. What are your thoughts on those negotiations? Have you, or I guess, what's kind of your mindset with the players' view? Like, I know that the players, and do you agree with it? I guess the players, they want more years of arbitration, so the players get, more money based on, their play, and they want free agency 1 year earlier. What are your thoughts on the players' viewpoint in these lockout negotiations?
Yeah, I mean, I got to apologize because I haven't been up on all the
Okay.
negotiations. I've been busy. I got a newborn at home, but
Yep.
I will say this, our whole lives as players, all we wanted to do is play baseball. We want to do it fairly and be compensated appropriately for it. But at the end of the day, like we just want to play ball and let us do our thing out there.
Mm-hmm. Exactly. Do you have interest once your career's over in coaching or a front office position or a pitching coach? I know you just had a baby, but what are your, do you have any post-career baseball interests?
Yeah, I would be open to working for a team. I love player development. One of the things I've really enjoyed about my process as a player is how I've developed over the years and changed my training techniques and changed my mindset a little bit. And I'd like to help other people navigate that. I've been doing some lessons for local kids, for free. I've started a charity at home in Oakland called Loyal to My Soil, where I put on free clinics for inner city youth and just try and grow the game of baseball in Oakland and, give access to play the game to a lot of kids that can't afford it. So I've got a lot of interest in and around baseball, and, I'm sure I'll be involved with it when my playing days are over.
That's awesome. Last question, Thank you for the time. You got to, I assume you got to know AJ Preller a little bit with your time with San Diego. What is he kind of like, behind the scenes in interactions with players, pregame, postgame, spring training, and what do you like most about him?
Yeah, AJ is super smart. It's pretty incredible to be around someone like that because I try and tend to think I'm a pretty intelligent guy. I'm working on finishing my degree at Cal Berkeley right now, but AJ's on another level. It's like he has two brains almost. The amount of stuff that he can process, the way he can think ahead, and have so many moving pieces at once. Maybe I'm thinking in terms of checkers and he's thinking in terms of chess. I mean, that's the best way I can put it.
Mhm. All right, Tyson, this has been fun. Thank you so much for coming on. This has been episode 91 of the Talking Friars podcast. Until next time, everyone, let's go Padres.